I'm not new to mapping backtrails. My job puts me in remote places, mostly logging unlisted springs and minor watershed shifts. This time was Sector H3, northern edge of state forest. Last surveyed in 1998, the plan was simple: follow the archived trail markers, flag any deviation, update with GPS, get in, get out. I started at marker 93, fresh flagging tape signs, someone had been here recently, surveyor chalk, a dropped pen with a forestry logo, but official logs said the last entry here was in June. Before leaving, I had checked a boxed report from 1998. Buried in the margin was a scribbled note, marker trung, so verify in field. The supervisor had just marked it, print error, in red ink. No one followed up. I got the assignment through a dead forum. Someone replied to my post about unusual redundancy in legacy trail systems. Username was KurtMap97, their reply, you sure? And GPS coordinates, no sign off. No further posts. Luke, a co-worker, once ran this sector. Quit without notice after his last H3 trip. Rumor was family stuff. But in the server archive I found an audio log, Luke narrating field conditions, clear at first, then at the 22-minute mark. A soft whistling started under his voice. He never mentioned it, just kept talking, like he couldn't hear it. The trail into H3 was quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no rustling, just this dry, pressing silence. Like standing inside a sealed room, my boots crunched on pine needles that didn't bounce. Air was cold, but didn't move. When I tried calling out, there was no echo, just flatness, by marker. 99 something felt off. The tape changed color, not bright orange, but deep red and brittle like it had aged years. Then marker 100 was missing, just a blank tree trunk, smooth where a sign should be. I checked my map. This was the spot, but no tag, just a faint groove like something was ripped off. I thought maybe wind or vandalism until I saw marker 101 facing the wrong way. Instead of facing the trail, it was nailed to the back of a tree. I had to circle it to find it. And the number wasn't. In paint, it was etched, deep, almost carved. Then came 102. It was newer, shinier. But the numbering was wrong. 102 crossed out, below it 107. I frowned. Checked GPS. My dot hadn't moved in 20 minutes. I'd been walking constantly, uphill. I turned around. No trail. The way I came had overgrown pine needles, pristine. No boot prints. I doubled back. 5 minutes later, marker 107 again. Different tree, same carved style, no other numbers. I marked a branch with tape, took a photo, kept going. Next marker, same number. Then again, by the 6th 107, I stopped. My marked branch, the tape I tied, was there. On the tree behind me, I was looping. Worse, the photo I took, gone from my phone in its place. A shot I didn't take of me. From behind. Looking at the marker, I took out my compass. The needle spun, then I heard it. Not a voice, not quite whistling. 2 notes, short, repeated. I called out, no reply. I moved fast, didn't run, just fast, past another 107 and another, then a backpack. Old faded forestry patch peeled inside, a field notebook molded. Last entry said, he's copying me. I mark 103, he writes 107, I turn left. He moves the trail page. After that was torn out. Beside the bag, a stake in the ground. Red tape fresh, but no trail. Just trees. I tried to go straight. No turns, counted steps, 200, 300. Then a marker, 107, nailed upside down. Next to it, a photo, glossy, wet, my tent, from last night, taken from above. I didn't camp here. Didn't sleep last night. Then I saw him, a man, forestry gear, same as mine, standing far, partially obscured. Whistling, same 2 notes, I shouted. He didn't move, just turned, not toward me but slowly, around the tree. Like he was letting me see his back. It was me, or the same jacket, same pack, but he didn't respond. Just kept walking. His movements too smooth, like someone replaying a memory. Later, I found a small monitoring station half buried in moss. Inside was a logbook, dozens of entries, all numbers 107, scribbled, neat, jagged, each line written in a different hand. The radio in my pack crackled. First static, then number 107 is the way home, followed by footsteps, even mechanical. Like weight shifted on dry leaves, I found a bird nest near a low branch, stuffed with photo scraps. Every face torn off, but each one held a placard. 107 I ran, reached the cabin, slammed the door, heart racing. The logbook inside, someone had written in it. My handwriting. I didn't remember doing it. I dreamt I was writing. From inside the cabin, but in the dream I was being watched. The window held a reflection. Someone else holding the pen. I recorded the whistling, played it back. A second whistle overlapped mine, same notes, softer, syncing perfectly. My phone buzzed. New message, unknown number A. Photo me holding a marker. Caption Tai Ve. Dao Ant Gi Se. My phone overheated, shut down. Later that week, while reviewing audio on my laptop, I heard faint whistling under my own voice memos, even ones recorded years ago, like it had always been there. My email pinged from KurtMap97. No subject, just a photo, a topo map of Sector H3, all trails converging at one node 107 back home. I caught my reflection in the subway window. I blinked. The reflection didn't. I left the forest. Not sure I left alone. One file remained on my phone. A selfie, smiling marker, 107 in hand, shirt I didn't own, caption survey complete. I found the location by accident. It wasn't on any of the park maps or the drone surveys. Just a GPS pin someone dropped in a private caving forum. No comments, no photos. Just coordinates, tagged, sinkhole, avoid. That's what got me interested. I'd been spending the summer hiking karst ridges and limestone belts for a side project, a digital archive of undocumented hollows and caverns across the state. Nothing commercial, just for other hobbyists. Most of them were harmless, shallow pockets or short crawls. But when you find something untagged, unclaimed, unrecorded, that's gold. I rented a basic trail cabin near the bluff line. From there, it was a 4-mile trek through dry woods. The kind where every footstep sounds like it's cracking bones. No canopy, just tall dead trees and sharp sunlight. I passed an old signpost with nothing on it. The screws were still in, just no sign. Then a gap in the earth appeared, like someone punched a fist into the ridge. A clean depression, about 15 feet across, with a slope just gentle enough to tempt you in. That was the limestone sink. That first day, I descended slowly. My boots slid on loose limestone chips. The air shifted, colder, slightly metallic. The sound changed, too, from open wind to dull pressure. My breath sounded wrong, muted. About halfway down, I found a thick root protruding from the dirt. Carved into it. North equals fake. I paused, took a photo, then slipped and nearly fell the rest of the way. The bottom of the sinkhole wasn't flat. It curved toward a stone seam, partially collapsed, forming a tight crawl space. That's where I made the first mistake. There was a stake, red, plastic, zip-tied into the rock. It looked brittle, out of place. I reached out, pulled it loose to examine it. Then, without really thinking, I stuck it back where it was. I don't know why, I just did it. Like my hands moved on their own. That's when I went in. The crawl space opened into a chamber maybe 4 feet high, 10 wide. The floor was dry. Too dry. The dust didn't shift, like it had settled decades ago and stayed that way. In the corner, I saw gear, a rusted old thermos, part of a nylon strap, and something else, A hammer drill with a forestry tag half scratched off. The number, D467. That wasn't a state-issued format, but it was marked like official equipment. There were also more stakes. One jammed into a crack, zip-tied with something blackened and frayed. Another snapped in half, as if twisted. At the far end, a slope angled deeper. I didn't go further that day, but when I climbed back out, I noticed something strange. My boot prints up the slope had already been smudged, like someone or something had followed me out. That night, around 2:15 a.m., I woke up cold. The door was still locked, the windows too, but the floor was wet. Just a thin line. Like someone had dragged a soaked rope from the center of the room to the back door. My boots were still dry. Nothing else was wet. I checked the footage in the morning. Camera blinked out at 2:11, back on at 2:17, static in between. The next morning, I returned to the sink with climbing rope and lights. Dropped a line into the deeper slope. About 25 feet down, it opened into a second chamber. This one was larger, circular, with what looked like benches carved from the rock. In the center, a raft. Not a full raft, just a skeleton frame. Logs lashed crudely with rotting rope, but it was propped perfectly upright, like on display. There was a symbol burned into one log, a circle with 4 slashes across it. Not letters, not numbers. Around the chamber were shallow alcoves. One had a tattered jacket, forestry green. Inside the pocket, a receipt from a gas station dated 1998, item, beef jerky. Handwritten on the back, still in here. Another alcove had a nail driven into the stone, with a single hair tie looped over it. Then I found the GoPro, old model, caked in dust. But it turned on. The last video, someone holding it in the chamber, panning slowly, breathing hard. No voice. Then, the sound. Not water, not wind, just a soft creaking, like tension on wet rope. Then the camera turned, briefly, and caught the person's reflection in a shiny surface of rock. Just enough to see. They were smiling. Under the frame, just before it cut, I saw their wrist, wrapped in red. Not blood, plastic, zip tie. I pocketed the GoPro. I returned to the cabin, didn't sleep. My GPS now showed I was in a different sector, one that didn't exist. At 3:11 a.m., the clock radio turned on by itself. Just static. I heard dripping again. This time, above. The ceiling had a fresh water stain. I live on the top floor. The next morning, I found one of the red stakes leaning against my car. Dry, but warm, like it had been in a hand. I moved back to the city, thought I could forget. But 2 weeks ago, I checked my trail photos. Every image of the sink was gone, replaced by the same image. My face, smiling. Rope coiled on my shoulder. Last night I heard a creaking sound through the apartment vent. Same rhythm. This morning my doormat was damp, and someone had left a single zip tie. Red. I looked in the mirror. On my wrist, 4 shallow cuts, arranged in a cross. And for just a second, in the reflection, my smile didn't match. I didn't mark the sinkhole, but something thinks I did, and it remembers. I didn't book Stillwater because it was beautiful. I booked it because no one else wanted it. A dead lake, a leaning dock, a wooden cabin 30 feet from shore where even birds didn't fly overhead. The place had no reviews, no signal, just a paragraph in an old forum, cabins fine, don't swim. It was buried in a comment chain about abandoned trailheads. Someone named BL had replied to a thread from 2015. The account hadn't posted since I messaged the only contact listed. A guy named Kurt got an email back 3 hours later. No greeting, no signature, just you sure. and a coordinate string I wired payment. No receipt, no follow-up. It felt more like a warning than a transaction. Stillwater wasn't on any booking app. Just that email. One line of instruction. Leave the raft alone. I thought he was joking. It took me 4 hours from the nearest paved road. The path narrowed fast. Trees too close for mirrors. Brush scraping both sides. GPS said I was 300 meters out. I walked the last stretch, but it took 45 minutes. The trail kept folding. I circled the same uprooted stump twice. A crow called out once, then silence. Even my footsteps felt delayed, like I was hearing them a second after I yelled once. Nothing echoed. The forest was denser than I expected. Pines leaned unnaturally westward, as if pushed by a constant wind I never felt. Underbrush grew in spirals. The air smelled faintly metallic. My skin prickled. Not cold, but alert, like walking into a room after someone's just left. The cabin smelled like iron and old cedar. Thin walls, a single bulb over the stove. Screen door full of tears. No mirrors. No clocks. A stack of firewood bone dry, even though it had rained recently. That night, I heard dripping soft, irregular, like water falling from height. I sat up. The window was ajar. The floor near the door was damp. I checked my boots. Dry, I hadn't stepped there. Then a flash outside across the lake. A faint red glow, low to the waterline, gone in seconds. And something else. A wet footprint on the first cabin step. Bare facing in the lake was wrong. No reflection. No ripple. When I threw a twig in, it disappeared with barely a plop. The surface didn't shimmer. It absorbed light like oil. Next morning I saw the raft. A square of warped planks on barrels, 30 feet out dead center. It hadn't been there yesterday. A line dipped beneath the surface rope. I grabbed binoculars. A loop knot, thick, heavy, perfectly tied. The GoPro I'd brought. I checked the reflection. The screen showed 2 feeds. One mine. One slightly offset. I blinked. It corrected itself. I deleted the file. It came back by noon, I wrote out. The lake resisted every paddle stroke, like the water held the boat. When I reached the raft, the air changed warmer, closer. Like breathing inside a closet. I touched the rope. It twitched. The loop rose taut, then slacked, as if being offered another rope on the far side, identical. But this one had grooves beneath the knot. Claw marks. Human-sized fingernail depth. One plank had initials carved, BL712, worn but still legible. Another had a dark stain, reddish, dried long ago. There was a fingernail caught in the wood grain. Underneath the slats I caught a glint. A rusted fishhook, tangled with a lock of hair, and a nail not bent but twisted out. The wood beneath had been pried upward against the grain. I sniffed the surface salt. But this was fresh water. I backed away. Rode in circles for 30 minutes trying to return to shore, somehow kept ending up back at the raft. My GPS blinked erratically. No fix. Compass spun. Eventually I reached land. Don't remember how, just stepped out and fell to my knees. That night I locked the cabin. At 3:11 a.m. I heard it. 5 knocks, deliberate, from beneath the floor. The lantern flickered. Then held. I opened the logbook. A new page had been added. Return what you took. I hadn't taken anything except a picture. One photo of the raft. My phone was dead now. But the image. It wasn't the same in the photo. The raft was empty. In the cabin window's reflection. Someone stood on it. I checked the GoPro. I'd mounted it to a tree stump. It had turned on, recorded 12 minutes of lake footage. Nothing moved. Then groaning rope twisting, 5 knocks. The file name still tied. I didn't name it that I turned off the camera. I didn't sleep. I sat up, heart hammering. Checking the window every 5 minutes. The mirror in the corner. One I swore wasn't there before, showed the lake behind me. Even with the curtains drawn, I started writing in the margins of a field notebook, trying to anchor myself. But the ink bled. Words swam. I rechecked old entries. Timestamps had changed. I deleted the raft photo. It came back, timestamped 3:11 a.m. I dreamt I was rowing endlessly, the shore just behind me, never closer. Next morning the raft was gone, but not far, just closer to the dock. Almost touching, I left everything, hiked out without gear, slept in my car 3 miles from the highway. 2 days later I returned to collect my stuff. The cabin was clean. Too clean. Firewood untouched. Logbook gone. The only thing left. A loop of rope hung neatly on the doorknob. I took nothing. Back in the city, strange things started. My hallway echoed like the lake. My mirror fogged at 3:11 a.m., even when I didn't shower. Sometimes the hallway light flickers, and when I open the front door, the knob is wet. I threw out the rope. 3 times, each time it came back. In my mailbox, in the back seat, in the drawer I hadn't opened in weeks. One night I heard the lock rattle, not break, just test. At 3:11 I checked my shoes the next morning. The laces were tied in a bowline. A sailor's knot I didn't know. One morning I woke with my ankles sore. 2 red rings like rope burn, and a drop of lake water on the ceiling. I live on the top floor. I don't book cabins anymore. I don't sleep near water. And I never ever answer knocks in the night. Then came the Polaroid, the raft. My silhouette rope looped around my ankles, captioned in smeared ink. You went out. Something came back. I called the number Kurt used, disconnected. I visited a clinic for the burns. The nurse frowned. These scars aren't new. You've had these for years. Last night, I heard knocking. Not at the door, inside my mailbox. And this morning I looked in the mirror. I was brushing my teeth. But my reflection hadn't started yet. I'm not sure the person writing this now is me.